I know. That was pre-recorded.
Okay, calling the meeting to order. For starters, are there any questions about the agenda from anybody? All right, moving on to the minutes. Does anybody have any corrections, changes, or comments about the minutes from the last meeting? In the absence of anything there, we'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion. Can I make a motion?
I think you can.
I have
Can't
to
do a
abstain.
second,
I wasn't
though.
there.
Nope.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of the minutes
Who
from last
seconded?
month?
Did you?
Aye.
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 And I will abstain because I was not there.
Actually, can I make a motion because I wasn't here?
You,
Or do I have to abstain?
oh, I think we can have someone else move the minutes.
I think we learned that before.
Hello, Susan.
So somebody else should make the motion.
Movement for the minutes. So moved,
So,
and a second. Elisa,
thank you. Dawn is abstaining.
I'm abstaining.
And I'm abstaining.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Director's report, Claire.
The Daffodil Fair, big success. We're very thankful for everybody who came and for everybody who helped out with that. What else we have? The book sale that happened, book stock weekend. We didn't have a lot of really fabulous books for that book sale, so although we had a lot of increased foot traffic, we did, I don't know, just a little less than $3,000.
Did we sell a lot of books? You just want high price books?
We sold a lot of books, just not a lot of high price books, exactly right.
I don't see them down there.
Well, you'll see some.
Okay,
Down.
okay.
No, there's not, but we, yeah. There was a lot of $12, $14 books
I'll take it.
and not the $50, $100 books that we've had in the past. You just never know.
Mhm.
Can I just ask about the Daffodil Affair? Claire, what do you attribute the success to? Is it timing? Was it?
Down. Down the button. Yeah, there we go. Seems really loud. Sorry, Mary Margaret. I think a little bit of everything. I think it's building momentum on the events that came before it. As I was saying just a little bit ago, our first holiday event sold 30 tickets. Our second holiday event sold 36 tickets, and this one sold
76.
76. So it was really, it's just building and building, and hopefully it will continue to do so. And I also just think we have it down as to how best to talk it up and how to advertise it better.
Do you get the sense that it's appealing to the gala people? Like the gala people are finding their way to the,
To a certain extent, but I think there were a lot of gala people who didn't attend. So Michael and I were speaking the other day about that, and I said, you know what we need to do? We need to find our gala guest list from the last few galas and specifically reach out to those people and send them personalized invitations to the next event that we have.
we were talking about thank you notes too.
I wrote a thank you note to every single person who attended.
You rock. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
I
Wow,
did.
well, what
Personal
sports.
library note cards.
That's amazing. Thank you.
So,
That's great. And I also want to put a plug in for the strategy of having board members as chief advertisers for
Yeah,
the event. There's 11 of us and we all know a couple of people, so a handful of people each that we all speak to also gets the word out. One person tells another.
yeah,
And I have a feeling that maybe some of that played a part too, so.
I think a lot of things played a part in it. And it just proved to be what I consider to be really successful, because my goal was 60 tickets and we sold 76, so that's pretty good.
and did Lori's donation cover underwrite the costs of the food and wine and stuff, Winchester?
And not all of it, but
Close.
most, absolutely most, yeah.
Good, so we just, every dollar. went-
Yeah, what did I say we netted on it here? $5,600?
Yeah.
So, which doesn't seem like tons, but
Well, it's half of what they gave about it.
yeah.
So,
Well, not what it used to do.
no, but what we
No.
got
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah,
But we are learning and building, like I say, on every event, and for the next event, we will pull out the gala list, which we hadn't thought to do before. And we will identify all the people who haven't attended one of these events.
And then maybe we'll go to our corporate sponsors that we used to go to for the gala to get them to underwrite the food and wine.
Right, right.
Did we compensate April for the cookies or were they a
No,
donation?
she was.
They were a donation. As
We gave
for
her
the
tickets.
flowers, I
We did,
expected
okay.
to pay for the flowers. And then a couple of days after the event, can't think, Diane Zone texted me and she said, you know what, it's such a wonderful event. I'm just gonna donate the
Did she come to
flowers.
the event?
She didn't, but she knew all about it
so
and I
nice.
guess she heard feedback off of it. And she said, just consider it a donation.
That's great.
And so that was $250.
Great.
Okay, that's nice.
So
And thank you notes for like April and
everything.
Diane, they got it?
Yeah.
Thank you
Can I
so
ask
much.
who
for doing
April
that.
is? I'm sorry.
April is the
Just
new farmer in the bell.
Polly,
Oh, April, okay, I wasn't,
She
Yep,
donated
got it.
4 dozen cookies or something.
Right.
Awesome.
But we gave her tickets, so she did come to the event, right?
She did come.
Yeah.
She and her husband came. Yeah. So that was great. Well, there's not really much going on. Our new website, hopefully it is in the developmental stage and it will be ready to go live finally, probably within the month. It's been a long time coming. We've been asking for a lot of capabilities in this website, so it has slowed us down. But we will finally get there. It'll be nice to have.
When you
happy?
say, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, are you happy with what? have you seen?
Oh, it's gonna be beautiful.
Great.
It's gonna be a fabulous website. Mhm.
When you say within the month, you mean June?
I mean,
Or
by the end
May.
of June. Yes, by the end of June, hopefully. Accounting firms. We have reached out, is everybody aware that we've been using the same accounting firm for years? This year, they increased our fee from 11,000 to 19,000. And next year it will go up to 21,000. So we've reached out to 3 other firms. One firm quoted us 16,500. Another one I'm still waiting to hear back from, and the third one I had a Zoom call with on Friday, and they said they would have the quote to me by the end of the week. So I had no idea that it would take so long to get quotes from an accounting firm. I just didn't know. So this has been going on for.
Tough time of year, though.
It is a tough time of year. It is, and so that is the reason they've all been sure to tell me that. But it's been 6 or 8 weeks since this has all been going on. But there is a firm, Peisch, in West Lev, I believe they are, that will charge 16,500.
How do you spell that?
Peisch.
Yep.
Is that the
PEIS.
16,500 quote that you,
That's
the
the
first one you mentioned?
Yes, that's the 16,500 quote. Gallagher Flynn up in South Burlington will have a quote to us soonly. And Schiffman and DeTilio over in Lebanon is still working on it. And that's pretty much all I have. We did get the grant, does everyone know, towards a new front door. We have had a couple of individuals say that they will give us checks towards the door. I don't have any dollar amounts on those. I
Is that
just,
from the daffodil? wish list?
one is, well, one woman saw the daffodil wish list poster after the gift fact
Okay.
Oh,
and said, I'll open my checkbook next week when I come and I'll
That's
give you a
nice.
check.
Okay.
Another woman told me at the event that she would send us a check.
That's a wish list idea.
So it's very cool. So that has helped.
What is the estimate for the total on the door?
I don't have an estimate for the total.
Okay.
We got an estimate a year ago for the door itself and the installation of the door, which would be 24,000. But it's says right there on the quote that does not include the removal of the existing glass that we have or the electrical work.
And the grant was for 14.
And the grant was for 14. Mhm.
What about the big donation that came in?
The big donation, 250,000, in addition to the 250,000 legacy. Lois Watson, we had known that she had left us a legacy gift of $250,000, of which we'll be getting roughly $11,000 to $12,000 a year from that. And then last week, one of her stepsons called and said, I have a check for you from my mother's estate, and it was an additional $250,000.
Oh, my goodness.
So that was really nice. So that's a total of
Wow.
500,000.
Wow.
Oh, my.
Time.
So where does the check get earmarked for? Where does that go?
Right now, it's sitting in our savings account at Mascoma, but we have to decide
Can we use any of it for the front door
where
or
that will go.
it's not earmarked for a particular?
It's not earmarked for anything at all.
So we'll discuss how that,
Yeah.
the three accounts that we have, we've got the endowment account, and the,
Mhm.
the savings
Right.
account, so. Benny will give us guidance on, how much we give to the endowment and invest it long-term and what we might need to hold on to, and hopefully that's all separate from, based on what you just said, and the question, separate from the front door. Just keep it away from
Right,
that. We'll
right, that would be
front door
really
separately
nice.
and Call it a good month.
Mhm.
Amazing. How generous.
Good fun, yeah.
I would say it was a good month.
Not a terrible time to jump into the market either.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
All right, anything else?
that's it. That's all I've got.
Thank you very much. Denny, treasurer's report?
Okay, sure. I sent out the April report. Just a couple of days ago. I worked on my way back from
My screen's.
Tunis.
So.
So it took me a while to actually get the numbers to work. I was pretty tired when I did it the first time. I will probably change this format next month. This is quite time consuming to pull from the monthly report that I get, which is tremendously detailed. I want to present this information. I just need to find a way to do it where I'm not bent over a calculator for several hours trying to add up numbers and make them all equal. So you may see some minor tweaks. That said, this is month 11 of the 12 months fiscal year. There are no real changes here at all. One month to the next, everything is pretty much set for the fiscal year. Last year we showed last month we showed a net of 6,000. In the forecast this month, it's negative 8,000. The budget was 6,000 positive. I'm really not worried about these relatively small numbers. Every month you'll see those numbers porpoise around ground truth. And if you will just remember that we use the endowment transfer to finally balance out. And we had last year 138,000 if we pull out an endowment. This year, we haven't pulled much at all out of endowment because we've been using an operations account, the cash account that had a gift in it from last year or the year before. And we've just been siphoning that one off to about 100K. And that's about what we're pulling out of the endowment this year to fund operations. And I'll go into those percentages here when we get to the budget. So that's all good news. Everything is tracking. The other piece of good news is the endowment fund itself is sitting pretty constant from the beginning of the year. So we are invested wisely as we've seen a little ups and downs in the market lately. And in April, mind you, by the end of April, things had bounced back because we were on a trade tariff upswing at the end of the month, and then we dipped again, and then we came up again. So depending on when you snap the chalk line for the month and the daily tariff whiffs seems to have a pretty significant impact in the market. So we're all, in an upswing at the moment. So the end of May, I expect will, things hold for another 3 days. We'll basically be in good shape as well until the next round. These funds are pretty wisely invested for long-term, low risk gain. So we are largely immune to the little ups and downs. We would not be immune to a crash, but we're in good shape. I'm pretty comfortable with how he's invested all that. So that's the monthly report.
Any questions? Comments? Predictions?
Anything can happen.
Is there a motion to accept the report as presented? Thank you. And a second?
A second, can I second?
We're gonna let you do that this time.
You are here.
You are in the
I'm
party.
physically here.
All right, thanks. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Denny, and welcome back. All right, let's move on to budget.
The budget,
Yeah,
okay.
you ready? Very
I
excited.
even read it a couple hours ago to make sure I remember what the hell I sent 2 weeks ago.
Oh, thank you.
So Jane and Claire did a lot of work on this up front. The spreadsheet that I sent out, and there are a couple of hard copies around the table if you need them. Goes back,
I have it on, pulled up on
Can
the
I
screen,
read
so I'm good.
goes back 3 fiscal years, so you can see the trending as we trend from 21-22 up to the current year. And then how we expect the end of the year to play out, the forecast, and then what we're saying, what we're budgeting for next year. In a big picture, paint a picture of what is our budget and where does it go. 70% of our $650,000 budget is salaries and associated expenses that are connected to salaries, which is largely connected to the number of hours the library is open. So if you start looking at reducing funding to the library, and this will come up later in the conversation, then where you get real movement in saving money is to reduce staff, whether it be hours or people. And you reduce hours, that starts to become a spiral that some libraries can get into. So that's really the long pole in the tent for us and where most of our money goes. We've seen a lot of growth over the last 4 years. I spent some time looking at trends in utilities, administrative costs, personnel costs, to see how the budget is growing and whether it's growing at a rate in excess of or below inflation, cumulative inflation rates. And I would say that the cost growth, we've had a lot of cost growth in the last couple of years. Inflation was pretty high for a while, and that's all part of this last 4-year period. Our income is largely flat. So there is some level of being squeezed. I'm still on the big picture here. There's some level of the library budget being squeezed by increasing costs and an essentially flat fundraising. Fundraising makes up 20% of our budget. That's the annual fundraising, not the endowment, but the annual appeals and the gala / quarterly events.
Right.
And dinners and the other things. That's 30% of the money that we spend has to come from operational fundraising. The endowment is about 30%, and the town is about 30%, and then the endowment makes up the difference. So largely in thirds: fundraising, endowment, and the town. And the town has been flat back as far as I have numbers. I'm not sure the last time the town gave us a raise. Our income is up 6%. So we are bringing in more money. The endowment fund has had a really successful few years. Like it's almost doubled in value through investments. So that's really good. And the amount of money we can pull out of the endowment is a rolling 12-quarter total. And this is the main endowment fund that's got 3.2 million in it. So we take the end quarter value of the endowment, of the main endowment fund, and we We write that down on a spreadsheet, and then we take 12, the first in the list, which was 12 quarters ago, and we take that one off. So as the lower quarters from 4 years ago or 3 years ago, as they come off the top and we add higher numbers that we have now, the amount that we can take out of the endowment goes up because that rolling 12-quarter average goes up. And we can pull 5% of the value of that 12-quarter, 5% of the 12-quarter average. So last year was 138,000, this year is 145. So we were able to give ourselves a raise on what comes out of the endowment, so.
And is the 5% in our, like, where is that designated? Is that just standard for nonprofits? Or is it in the,
Right now, that's in folklore,
okay,
and we want to try to find where that's in writing.
okay,
And this becomes important because we have some pressure from the town. I'll talk to that at the end. And there is a notion that we have an endowment, so why does the town need to fund something? And the answer is, well, the endowment only gives us a third of our funding. Thank you very much, and you give us the other third. So in fact, the town gives us 215 and we get 45 out of the endowment. So we want to be able to have a discussion with the town that says rock solid. This is the gift that came from, I think, Rockefeller when he redid the building. And these are the stipulations that govern that gift. We're having difficulty finding those records.
Is that written in our bylaws? It's written somewhere.
So
I don't think so.
we need to find it. And it's gotta be, if it's not gonna come up this year, it'll be next
I
year.
know I have seen it written
Yeah,
somewhere.
so we need to pull those brain cells back in front.
Yeah, I have seen it.
That's a
Okay.
pretty standard amount, though,
I was
right?
wondering,
I
is
mean,
that best
I hear that all
Yeah.
the time, of best practices.
Yeah.
Managing it.
But when it comes down to budgets and money in the town, they're not interested in best practices. They're interested in what's written in the deed of gift.
Okay.
And otherwise,
No, I
potential.
just wanted to know if we were in line with what's
Yeah,
normal.
I
And
think
it's-
we are.
I-
It
Seems
seems
to me, I just.
totally reasonable.
Yeah.
It's
to
it's
protect.
pretty standard. 5% is standard with nonprofits.
yeah, there
Um,
must be a point after which you draw down more and you're being not a good fiduciary for the endowment.
Well, exactly so. I mean, if you start using that as an operating account, then
That's the case.
the endowment will last X number of years and then we're done.
Yeah.
So we have to, it's our responsibility to maintain the sanctity of that economic machine that's funding us.
Yeah, and tying the fundraising.
Yeah.
So that
Um,
basically says that 1/3 comes from the town and 2/3 comes from the library between the
Yes.
endowment
Right.
and the
Yep.
fundraising that we do,
Absolutely.
so that town's
Absolutely.
only paying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's an important way of presenting that, and
Yeah.
that's how, we go to the town when this comes up. Okay, so moving on, expenses are up 16% over the 4 years, salaries are 14%, administrative 22%, electrical 17%, books 24%. You get the. So what did we do this year? We took the endowment up to 145, already discussed that. I pressurized utilities a little bit. Claire and Jane gave me the budget, and so I started doing my budget thing, and I started playing the numbers. My theory is, throw me a budget, I will always balance that budget. It's just a matter of where you pressurize and where you don't. So I went into utilities, and I pulled records for electric, because electric is up. If you take a look at on page 2. Of the spreadsheets. Actually, page, where is it?
6210.
6210. Yeah, if you look at electrical, we're up. The budget last year was 10, and we're going at 15 this year, and heating and propane was 10, and we went to 14 this year. So those numbers were higher in the proposal. If you go back into history, you'll find that we have had some growth in the electrical. I went back to consumption, and we are consuming more kilowatt hours than we used to. More in winter than in summer, of course, but our annual consumption of electricity is up. That's could be attributed to a couple of things, but it is what it is, and we've got to take care of our staff, we've got to keep the building warm. And that gaping door downstairs isn't helping because it's basically reheating the green of Woodstock with that door. And so if we fix the door, I think our utility bills in the wintertime will come down substantially. Our propane use is essentially flat, and the cost growth is not significant from one year to the next. So we shifted companies that helped our heating oil costs. We don't really have much propane. The new heating system is an HVAC system. We do have a boiler for something, but we're running heat pumps. So when it's really, really cold, we're using electricity. It's more efficient than fuel, but it is what it is. So Claire and I've talked about the electrical. You gotta have the lights on, you gotta keep the building warm. We talked about, when the old ladies are done with their knitting group, turn the heat back down and try to be good stewards of the amount that we're spending on utilities. The spring appeal, we're down from 50K to 35K. It had been projected that we would put in the budget less than that. And I bumped it up. So there was a little pressure on the fundraising, the spring appeal. And I did that because I felt that we've got to keep a focus and a pressure on appeals and the fundraising committee, and just need to keep pressure on fundraising. Beyond that, there's really nothing, there were no big changes from the proposal. And we're netting right at zero, $3,000 in the black. And that includes the 31,000 from the Schillinger gift of a couple of years ago. We're running 31K a year out of that gift, and that gift has 2 more years to run after the 25-26 budget. Looking forward, when that money disappears, then that's a hole, $3,000 hole that we can fill with the most recent gift. If we choose, there are no zip codes to that. We have some other funds of the 3 funds that are invested that we can also pull from, but that's and we can hope that we get more gifts that come in. But there is the endowment fund, and then we've got this other $50,000 that's coming from gifts, large gifts that go together. So it's really sort of $170,000 that come from endowment-like, large gift-like sources. And we just want to pay attention to the fact that in a couple of years we have a hole to fill, but we have some places to go and some money that has been gifted to the library that's not endowment that we can tap into for that if we need to. So that's really my presentation to you. I found, having done a lot of budget stuff in the past, I found the spreadsheet that was given to me to be pretty tight. I mean, I tweaked around the edges a little bit to get from a $30,000 deficit up to 0. But it was pretty easy. I didn't really have to do anything unnatural or bend and break any laws of physics in order to do that. So I think that's a win. The last thing I would mention is that I've been introduced to Laura Powell, who's one of our select board members. She and I have been trading emails, and now that I'm back in town, I'll reach out to her, coming out of my jet lag. I'll reach out to her and sit down and have a get to know conversation. That will be the first of what I hope are many discussions that will build confidence in the select board that we know what we're doing over here and that we do rely on the town money. Yeah, even though we're not a municipal library, rely on that money. And that we are good stewards with the money we have, and we're running a pretty tight organization. So if you want a library, which is also kind of a community center, because we
Yes,
don't have a
It
community
absolutely
center,
is.
then the doors need to be open for that. And that costs money. So I think what I'd like to do is start painting a picture to the board with a wide paintbrush in large terms, thirds, 2/3 are us, 1/3 is you.
Great.
And then as they start to dial in on certain aspects and certain numbers, then, we've got our messaging group and we've got firm numbers with which to have that adult conversation. And the hope is that we make them fans of us.
You're the man to do it.
So we'll just, start with a cup of coffee and end up with a sledgehammer. As long as we win.
Could you wear like your naval uniform or anything? It's like lots of
Be a little
battles.
intimidating.
Yeah. Okay, questions?
Thank you, that's amazing.
So do you think there is an understanding that in fact our role as a community center has grown the way it's grown at all libraries across the country, that function that used to be peripheral has become much more central to what libraries do? Because I wonder if that's a core part of how we could win this power.
Yeah, I think you're 100% correct. And that's part of this get to know you discussion. What I want to do is listen.
Okay.
Because part of the argument that we're hearing through the grapevine is that we don't listen and we're not playing, with the other kids at the table. So I want to listen. And I want the select board to understand that we are a vibrant, necessary part of the community, but we're also listening to the community. And we're taking action on the goods and the others, the complaints and the compliments, but we also listening to complaints and we're gonna address complaints because that's coming from the community. And we'll listen to the select board. They're investing in us in a couple $100,000 a year, so we should listen to them. And we should take on board what they're asking of us. So I wanna really start generating a two-way conversation. Laura seems to be someone who's very interested in having that conversation. So I don't wanna go solve a problem in one meeting. I wanna go have a cup of good coffee out at Abracadabra where it's quiet and just settle in and listen and see where the conversation goes.
Make her feel like more like a stakeholder than just writing us a check. They're also
Absolutely.
like, yeah.
Absolutely.
She's also one of the warmer people on the select board. Like she is not, there are two people on the select board that want to defund the library and she's not one of them. So she's more of a canary in the coal mine, trying to red lights, hey, we have like a disconnect here.
Yeah.
And she's actually, I see her as more of an ally in closing that gap versus like an aggressor. Does that, and something I talked about with Tom was like, if we can she really represents a constituency of the younger generation, like 40s down. And if we can make inroads with her and them through engagement and fundraising, then like everybody else will sort of be taking, like you can't defund the library if that block is super pro-library, and it's also the future of the town. So like strategically, I was talking to Tom about, there are a couple moms I know who'd love to be more involved, like, and our generation just has a different approach to fundraising. Like we're the first people to like donate to a GoFundMe or, but we like to be involved and have like a different relationship versus like kind of old fashioned institutional giving. So something I've thought about is like, maybe we get another couple people with kids of different age groups on the board and kind of make symbolic nods toward engaging this group and, empowering Adrian, is it Emily?
Yes.
They have such incredible ideas and they're such visionaries. And I know that there are parents that are volunteers, but that would love to support them in doing some cool kind of like splashy things. So I just think there's a big, big problem, but when I see the solution, I'm like, if we start there and kind of win over Laura, give some easy wins to like this group, of parents, get a couple more people on board, helping you figure out how do we reach these people with fundraising, we can kind of shift the needle without like being dependent on changing the minds of two people who want to completely defund the library. And to me, that's such an extreme stance that I don't know if we're gonna ever, wear that down. So.
So I'm gonna go give Laura a hug.
Yeah.
We need to have
Yeah.
her make her case.
And
Yeah.
I want to try to make her job easier.
Yeah.
And so the first step is to listen.
Yeah.
And not push back and accept the spears and, see where the relationship can go. But I'll put on my Sundays and go drink coffee and catch spears.
I think this is great. Thank you so much, Denny. And I have questions for Denny and questions for Liz. So for Denny, should we also be having these same conversations with the other two? Not the ones who want to defund, but the ones who could be additional strong allies, to really, so it's not just Laura, but really.
I think Laura is the first step because she's expressed interest in talking to me. And that's through mutual friends that she's reached out. So I think we start with Laura, and I would love to sit down with all of the select board, whether it be one at a time or, just up the street, so it's pretty easy. Whether it's one at a time or in a group setting, whether they just wanna, give me an hour where they can throw spears at me and get that out of the way and then start having an adult conversation. I'm happy to do whatever it takes to get the board on our side and to be an active participating member of the town, foundation, instead of this sinkhole that they feel that they're throwing money at. So I don't know, the wonderful thing about a guy like me is that I don't have any baggage. I have no baggage.
Yeah.
So I don't know these people. I've never met them. I'm new to the community. My mother-in-law lived here for 50 years. So I've been coming here for 20, but this is the first time I've actually lived here. So I'm sort of the perfect person to go in and, okay, well, tell me what happened 10 years ago. Why are you still mad at the library from 10 years ago?
Are they mad at the library? Is it just about balancing the budget?
I'm all ears. And now let's talk about the budget.
Do they have a beef with the library? They're just
I
trying to
don't
figure out how
I
to make their numbers work.
heard of a beef.
But
Yeah.
Never heard any inkling of it.
There are some complaints,
But-
but they're small and petty.
What are they?
They're stupid.
Yeah.
So so this is the first step
Mhm.
in starting to bridge that gap.
Mhm.
And I understand the budget pressure. I got it. And there's a lot of it. But defunding us is perhaps not the smartest thing.
Can you imagine this town without a library?
Well, what would they
Really-
do with this building right in the center of the ring?
Yeah.
So, I don't even go there because we're never gonna get there.
Right.
Because we're gonna take care of the problem
Right.
at the point it is now and fix it.
I think that's a really smart approach. And I did also want to chime in on and echo what Liz said. I think I think the strategy that she's putting forward is a great one. Even if there's not, I don't know what the board nomination process looks like, but even if there's not room at this time, we can form a formal committee and have that include members of the community who are not on the board. Typically, most boards allow for that. So maybe there's a way for, Liz, you would know best, but young people to be involved in in kind of an organized way and meaningfully, in addition to being on the board.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think, there's some ideas that have come to me. I think having a couple more people, and I already mentioned this on the board, is a powerful statement, because when you think about the library, even the space, the children's area is like a third, right? So you think the representation of, like, I have friends who literally call the library their second living room. Like, they love
I
it.
think a
They
lot
are
of
so
people do.
invested.
Mhm.
And, one of them in particular would love to be on the board, and she'd be such a great fit. And she has a nonprofit background. She's awesome. Not confrontational personality wise, but very, like, bull by the horns pragmatic, which to me is like a really nice combo. So I personally, especially because I met with Rachel, who used to be on the board, and I kind of took her spot. And what we realized is when you have fewer young parents on the board and we have to step away for maternity leave or something, it's like the baton gets dropped a little bit. You know, so having more people means if someone has to step out because they're having another kid or like, you know, something's happening in life, that kind of, it's really engaging that population, which is to me like the precursor to fundraising. It's like a beautiful virtuous circle that if we can keep that engagement going, then those people will tell us how they want to fundraise and they'll be involved in fundraising. Like I even have a friend who's like a corporate event planner who, you know, in town, like the more people that are sort of involved, the more we can just benefit from that support. Because what this really came to me when I was working on this new messaging, which is very much like you were saying, Priscilla, about like, this is a community center. And as the world gets kind of wacko, it's like even more important to have this here. And what I realized is when I work with companies redoing their messaging, I always suggest that when it hits that there's an extra effort to engage the population you're trying to reach with a new message. So you don't want to, the messaging lands better if it's kind of done with a wink and a nod to like, and we're doing this for you. Like we're bringing more new parents on the board, or we're, you know, like these small kind of token projects. It doesn't have to be high, you know, effort or like high expense, but it just tends to like hit people in a little bit of a more meaniful way.
And do you think it's important for them to be actual board members? Because I mean, community members are welcome to come and we can reach out personally to people to come to our board meetings and get their feedback. Do they want the heavy lifting of being on the board and doing all that too? Or would it, is what they really want is a voice? Because we could make, you know, we could show them that they do have a voice, you know.
Yeah, I come back to, I do think it's helpful to have them on the board, particularly because of the pressure on fundraising.
Mhm.
And I think that there is I feel like we have a few years to get a runway going where we're really getting this generation to give before it starts to show. Like, you know, at the event, having babysitting was great, but I still didn't see a lot of people from my generation around, even though I had done the outreach and talked to people about it. And, you know, so I personally, I mean, I looked at the bylaws, I know it can be up to 15 people. I personally feel that having that representation would make it so much easier. Also in part because like I have all these ideas like thoughts for fundraising or things that could support Adrian. But I just don't have the time. Like I don't have the time to do it all. So often moms will come up to me and say, oh my gosh, like, you know, could we do this or that? And again, having like a couple more people means there's just more, a higher percentage that would happen, you know? So that's personally what I feel. Yeah.
Well, there's no doubt that the town is under a lot of pressure from a financial standpoint. They have new guidance going into their next budgeting process that is going to be as focused as ours is. And they're going to be under enormous pressure, I think, on this cycle going around, just thinking, you know, kind of historically how we've seen things go. So I think this one might be a little bit different. There's more focus, there's more pressure, there's more expenses, and they're going to be looking for, as we do, they're going to be looking for low-hanging fruit.
Right, yeah.
And just start cutting it and cutting it. And so we want to be higher in the tree. And I also know that that's going to be so important for us because it really started, it just sort of peaked out during the last vote, like right before the last vote. That's when we felt that first uh-oh feeling, where it became when it became a public statement and there was what was perceived as guidance towards your considerations when you vote was, you know, where we really picked up on that. So that that's gonna be nothing compared to what we'll see.
Yeah.
So I think, I agree with what you're saying. And I've had some conversations as well, and I think, you know, and inside of those conversations, when you talk about downstairs, that in itself invites more expenses. So it all kind of works together, and it's, so that's why we really do need to focus on it, and it's all tied together. So fundraising, representation on the board, our own, you know, how tight are we from an operational standpoint? And if we are going to take on more expenses, then that becomes a part of our commentary as well, whether it's hours worked or special projects that we're doing downstairs. So.
I have a question. So, you know, selectmen are political creatures who respond to constituency pressure. So what I'm curious about is, do we have the data to be able to show them some of what this means actually politically, which is, let's say, visits to the library by young parents, visits to the library by young children, visits to the library by old lonely people. Is there a way to show we are more than what we were, and this is not the time to cut us off? Meaning we're actually playing a bigger role, and here are the stats to back it up.
Demographics.
Just attendance.
We do have numbers of visitors to the library. It would be very interesting if we could break that apart into young children and young families, and I don't know how that would really be possible. We do have the door counter, which counts the number of people that come into the traffic that flows into the doors. And that is great. We do have attendance at our programs, which shows the importance and the popularity of all the programs that we have. Also circulation.
Right.
So I think those things all play a really big part. In fact, we are a town of 2,000 and something. I think it's less than 3,000 people, a small town. And the state considers us one of the larger libraries in the state because our circulation is so large compared to larger
And we're not even
towns.
talking about the effect on tourism, because like just even
Oh,
the book
gosh.
sale once a week,
Absolutely.
so many tourists come through and they say, this is always my first stop, I get books.
Mhm.
The kids come in, there's so many, it's mostly tourists when I'm there on Thursdays, you know.
Think about the month of October. We had more than 9,000 people come into this building in just October alone.
And it's, you know, they all talk about the beauty of the building, the, you know.
Well, there is, you're right, there's a story inside the numbers, and it's kind of an interesting way of looking at it. We could probably broad brush it with sort of like the key 4 groupings or key 3 groupings. That might be something.
But I think the
we can look at.
fundraising messaging group is working on, you know, how to approach donors and everything too. Maybe we give that same talk to the select board and, you know, make it clear. Right, the
Yeah.
generalized messaging, Mary Margaret's working on that with the group,
Yeah.
but.
We do have numbers in there, like we have, I'm still waiting for Denny's
Yeah, I
feedback,
need to
right,
look
what it
at it,
provides it.
just, I'm coming up for it.
That's okay, you were in Tunisia, hoping Tunisian Navy. So, yeah, we have a place where we talk about the team of librarians and volunteers, because I think that's the other thing that we have, like, I've been so impressed by MAC, like, we have an incredible body of free support here, and I know parents want to add to that. And then the adults and children that they serve. But I do think, you know, again, Priscilla, what you're saying about the community center thing, is really important. And also the fact that I believe this is the only library in the area that's open 6 days a week. So for example, Emma and I, you know, live in Pomfret and I'm still here a lot. Like any kid that goes to West is usually coming to this library, not library in, you know, Plymouth where they live. And so I think with fundraising, we wouldn't really want to do this with the town, but with fundraising, like expanding the messaging to be reflective of the the incredible role it plays in the region, like in the Ottaquechee River Valley. So I came up with a line, something like, you know, our breadth and depth of our reach like reflects the length of the river, basically, like, because it really is a hub for, you know, however many miles in each direction. So trying to get some fat cats, you know, some big timers in Barnard or Pomfret, like there's money in those hills to carry horses. There is, you know, so.
Okay, well, we have in front of us a budget that, compared to this year's projected numbers is, we feel attainable. Expenses are fairly straightforward on almost all fronts. It's a good looking budget. And in the absence of any questions, I think we should look for a motion. Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor of the budget as proposed, say aye.
Aye.
And it's unanimous.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
thank
Debbie.
you, Denny.
I guess
Yeah, that was a
the
lot.
last thing I meant to mention and forgot.
Oh, no, it's not now.
No, it's all good. Is that this budget is actually $20,000 below last year's budget. So
Yeah, there's good numbers in there.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Thank you, Danny.
so
Wow.
it's a pretty good effort. And it was all these guys. All I did was
Thank you.
Yeah, I can't imagine how many numbers you had to
look
pull.
at it sideways.
It's like my least favorite thing in my life.
Yeah, thank you to Claire and Jane and Denny. And the encouraging thing also is that we are gaining momentum with our fundraising. And it's hard to budget momentum. And so we have some outside opportunities
Yeah.
to move forward and move up with some numbers.
You
So very
mentioned
exciting.
income is up 6%. Is there a specific reason or it's just?
That's over the 4 years.
Okay.
Honestly, I just looked at the
Okay.
numbers, the total,
Okay.
and see endowment's part of that. I mean, we've been, different parts are up and down, the Gale is gone, but now we're starting with Daffodil, and so I just looked at the aggregate, expenses were up, income is up, that just basically is a squeezing function.
Mhm.
Then if you draw that out into the future, something will have to change because we'll run out of ways to sort of squeeze it. Because budgets are a balloon and you squeeze in one area, it pops out in another area. So when you have requirement, you can pressurize to a certain point. And I sadly dragged Jane and Claire and Tom line by line through this budget, line by line. And we talked about
Look at the result though.
each line and the trending and why it is the way it is. So there's a lot of understanding. There's a lot of knowledge in the building that understands how we're operating, and that's all very, very positive as well.
Do you know, at some point, we should address Bridgewater as well. I don't know the history of Bridgewater and the library, but I do know at one point they gave us $25,000 a year. And then they defunded it completely. And then they went to 3,000, and then the last 5 years it's been increased to 5,000. But at one point, they were contributing $25,000 a year.
They also
I'm not sure what happened.
they defunded the sheriff.
Yeah, that was much
So-
more recently
So
though.
they got some issues up there in Bridgewater
But
because
there-
they can't even afford
There's
that.
a lot of
They
money in
Often
Bridgewater.
go down the school, like they're known to be really tough.
Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
Rachel lives in
Bridgewater as
Bridgewater,
much.
so you know, like she would have a good sense on that, but like when we were doing the school board stuff for the high school, it was like Bridgewater would be tough. Killington's always a no for the school board,
Yeah.
but Bridgewater's like
Tough.
tough.
Yeah. Well, without the sheriff, we can get the fast track
Yeah.
quicker and get home quicker.
Yeah, you gotta like that.
They were also super in debt because they were, Rachel said they were accountable to pay for the road repair after the river flooded it out, and then they were waiting for FEMA, and like, they were like $2 million in debt as a town. So I don't know if that money has come through, but that would be a good thing to know before approaching that.
History of it would be a great thing to know before,
Yeah,
but there's no reason that somewhere down the line we shouldn't approach them.
yeah, of course,
Because they do use the library,
yeah,
Bridgewater people,
Yeah,
quite regularly.
of course, yeah.
Okay, good. Little time left. We've already talked a bit about fundraising. Is there anything you wanted to update us on?
Well, I'm just so happy Mary Margaret's helping me with all this too, and so I tried to get her to chair it, and she's like, she's busy, so she's co-chairing, but she's doing all the hard work. So, I think, they've been really working on messaging. Mary Margaret and I are going to host, we had these like 3-tier idea of, events at the library, like the cocktail parties, dinner parties for sort of mid-level, but maybe mid-level donors, but getting a commitment out of them over multiple years. Mary Margaret and I are gonna try one out in August at her fabulous farm. So if anybody has any idea, I have a couple of couples I was thinking about. We're thinking of 3 couples for this. People who would be willing to give like $3,000 to $5,000 over maybe 3 to 5 years. That's sort of what we're thinking of, that general area, that would love to see her beautiful farm, and there's vineyards, and we'll be there. But, so we're trying to put a group together for that sort of proof of concept. How would this go? What kind of messaging we would do, sort of, how we could make it a fun event that people would then talk about and get them, psyched for longer term commitment. And then, we're trying to do more one-on-one appeals. We're still building out that list and that plan, but Mary Margaret had a really good point. Let's try to get some wins early on. Let's try to, have our dinner parties, a couple dinner parties before September, and see what we can figure out about that as a model. Let's see if we can go to 2 or 3, targeted bigger donors, and see how that goes with the messaging that her group is working on. So we're trying to just keep pushing this forward, but give ourselves some deadlines so we can see if this is working. But it's a great group, and we need everybody's help on the board, showing up for events, showing up for cocktail parties. We all need to be there because we're the fun group, we're the cool people, and just getting our friends excited about coming to stuff. And then the only other thing is we're asking all the board members to make an annual donation of some kind. Doesn't matter how much. We just want to be able to say 100% of our board contributes to the financial, health of the library. So that's just a check mark for purposes of those people that have to go and talk to bigger donors. I didn't realize that was a thing, but I guess that's a thing, so. And then just as Priscilla's great, she gave me some names, but those of you that haven't, if you've got ideas, people who you want to make sure, you don't even need to see the original list, send me names of people you think, these are people that we should be reaching out to, either making sure just that they're even on our appeal list, but also maybe making special effort to bring them in because they have an interest in the library, or they have lots of cash and are likely to be, generous with that.
And not to forget that second homeowners love to be a part of the community.
Yeah,
They're often
absolutely.
looking for ways, and sometimes at a loss for ways to be a part of, the action, even though they're not here all the time.
I find that in South Woodstock, they're trying to, like, don't forget about me. We're gone for the summer, but don't forget about me. So then great, we'll put you on our library list for, So, and any ideas, or we really appreciate it.
My wife just ran into the folks that bought the schoolhouse across from Keegan.
Oh, yeah. Are they from Texas?
They're new, and
People say they're great.
they are awesome, and they got a big bullseye on them.
Nice.
They just don't know it.
Yeah.
So we're getting together for something at some point.
Thank
soon.
you.
And
Yeah. I've heard they're great. Yeah. Are they from
it's-
Texas though?
Perhaps.
You'll find out.
Yeah. See that, so.
That's fun.
Yeah,
Nice
and
building,
can you
too.
just take a minute to like congratulate Liz on selling her book?
Thank
Oh,
you.
That's big. At the end of the last meeting, I was like, what? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be on Priscilla's team.
Yeah.
First time in Chester.
I wish I could say I had direct involvement in this, but I'm very, very proud.
Thank you.
Very on brand for a library board member.
Right.
Yeah,
Writing books, in fact.
I was just relieved. It's very rare that it like you know, that it all comes, and they're such a great team, like, they're so great, they're just so.
Well, we
so-
will be monetizing your links to like to the community and having events. We will be
Yeah.
trotting you out.
If
That's
you
what I
want
said.
to introduce me to
Yes,
Jennifer,
resident
yeah.
author.
Resident author.
An author that-
Retired mom.
Oh, great, no, it's awesome.
So I'm excited.
Can I have
yeah.
the title?
Oh, I haven't signed yet, am I allowed to say?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
it's called The Three Graziellas. It's
Okay.
based on the Roman myth of the Three Graces, but it's
Mhm.
about 3 generations of Italian-American women in the old neighborhood my grandmother, who was Lucia Quagliazzi, grew up in. And, yeah, it's like an intergenerational family drama, like
Nice.
book club fiction, every shade of light and dark, and yeah.
Oh,
We have the
awesome.
whole costume party around this. I'm
Thank
thinking an
you.
Italian theme. We're
Yeah.
selling tickets.
Yeah, the marketing.
Yeah.
Do a
they brought-
whole
Yeah.
event with
It
this.
would be so great.
Could
Yeah.
be.
Publicity came on when I had my meeting with them, and they were like, it was really great because the editor who bought it, her assistant is Italian and pulled it from the pile, and the publicist is Italian too, Jenna. I don't know if you've,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
yeah, and they both came on and they were like, they got it, and I
That's
just
fun.
felt relieved that they thought I got it. Yeah, it'll be really fun. It's still super surreal. I was watching the speakers at Bookstock being like, am I gonna have to do this?
Yes.
But
Some
yeah.
data blockers.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
for real.
But, and
Um,
thank you for working on the messaging.
Oh, it's
too.
great.
That's
Yeah.
a great way to use your special talent.
Of
for-
course,
thank
I'm
you.
so grateful to do it. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really, we had a good group.
It's a
like,
win
chatting
for the
through.
group. Yeah, we sold a book, you guys.
Yeah, yeah, it's wild. So it'll come out next year. in a year,
Exciting
June,
times
July.
ahead for you.
Yeah, really exciting. Now I just have to get my author photo taken this week. I'm like shockingly stressed about it.
I'll tell you, but half the time it's a partner taking an iPhone.
Is it?
picture.
Yeah.
They don't wanna pay, so.
And it works.
Oh, okay,
It works.
works.
Be like
Yeah.
this, something with your hand in your
I
chair.
know.
They're usually the best pictures.
It's true, it's true. So I saw one that like a man had it with like his 3 dogs. I said it to my husband. I was like, do I bring the dogs?
Yeah.
Jokingly.
When I'm buying a book or looking at it, you know, you go to the cover,
Yeah.
then you, if you can read a little bit about the book
Yeah.
on the inside, and then the third thing is you go to the photo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I'm reading a book too, or I finish, I also go back to the
Right.
photo.
Yeah.
And there's some fun ones out
Yeah,
there.
to like get the vibe
Yeah.
of the person.
Yeah, you don't need
So
to be smoking a pipe anymore.
Yeah, you should get your daughter to take it from a funky angle. She would
Yeah.
probably do
Yeah,
it. My
she-
kids
she
take the best
would.
pictures.
yeah, she's like constantly taking like double chins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just give her a photo credit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for real. Yeah, she would love that. Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. I'm so grateful.
Alright. Well, thank you, everybody. This is always a fun meeting because
It
the
is.
budget thing, the truth is in the numbers. And it's.
We're in such good
for-
hands.
For some
Thank you
people,
all.
it's a fun process, and thank you for focusing on all those numbers and-
Yeah.
and everything that Denny sends, but it's all good stuff, and glad to have you aboard. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So, motion to adjourn,
Second.
all in favor?
Who made the
Aye,
motion,
thank
sorry?
Tom,
Aye.
you motion?
You can do that?
Thanks, everyone.
Wait, I was so focused on Tom. Who did the
Oh,
second? I was
yeah.
like, what?
My
Yes.
Danny
Yeah.
Maviernik, which is north of the city. It's